We're not just going to cover the headlines of the capture of Nicolás Maduro. No, we're going to dissect the official story, get into the competing interests, and map out the global fallout from this U.S. military operation in Venezuela. Look, the raid itself was swift and it was conclusive, a tactical success, but the reasons given for it and the geopolitical shockwaves it's already creating, well, that's where the real story begins. So let's start with the official announcement. This wasn't some covert op that the White House would later deny. Far from it. This was a very public declaration, with the U.S. president stepping right up to take full ownership. To really get a grip on what's happened, we have to look at it from 6 different angles. We'll start with the operation itself, then the official reason, justice, after that the economic angle, ahem, oil, then we'll cover the geopolitical message, the divided reaction from around the world, and finally the voices coming from Venezuela. Section 1, the operation. Okay, first up, the operation. Let's dig into the tactical details of what actually went down over Caracas. Right, so this was anything but a spontaneous decision. We're talking about a meticulously planned strike involving 150 aircraft. It took months to coordinate. They even waited for a specific break in the weather before giving the green light. And here's a critical detail. Congress was kept completely out of the loop. The administration's reason? Fear of leaks. But what that really means is they sidestepped any and all congressional oversight. Section 2. The official rationale. Alright, Section 2. We know what happened. Now let's look at the official story for why. The public narrative being pushed by the U.S. isn't about politics. It's being framed entirely as a law enforcement issue. The wording here is very deliberate. Notice how they're careful to avoid the phrase regime change. Instead, they keep framing this military action as simply carrying out a legal indictment. You have to understand, that is a huge distinction when it comes to international law and public perception. So, what's the legal basis for this whole justice narrative? It's a federal indictment that accuses Maduro of narco-terrorism. The allegation, essentially, is that he ran a corrupt government that used the power of the state to help move massive amounts of illegal drugs. Section 3, the economic angle. Now, Section 3, the economic angle, because right alongside that clean legal justification, a second, much more tangible motive was presented directly from the U.S. president. I mean, listen to that. There is nothing subtle about it. This statement just completely shifts the conversation from some abstract idea of justice to a very concrete resource, oil. The military operation is being directly tied to controlling Venezuela's #1 economic asset. And this little factoid gives you all the context you need for those statements. We are not talking about a minor player in the oil game. Venezuela is sitting on top of the largest proven oil reserves on the entire planet. Okay, so we've got justice and we've got oil, but analysts are pointing to a third layer here, a strategic message being sent to America's adversaries on the world stage. From this point of view, the intervention in Venezuela is more than just Venezuela. It's a form of foreign policy by force. It's meant to show a new level of American resolve, targeting an alleged Hezbollah sanctuary, yes, but also serving as a direct warning shot to Russia, basically telling them to stop meddling in the region, and maybe even signaling a tougher line on Ukraine. Section 5. A world divided. So, as you can probably guess, an action this big immediately split global opinion right down the middle, drawing both fierce condemnation and very vocal support. And this chart lays that division perfectly. You've got the UN, deeply concerned about international law. You have the usual adversaries like Russia and Iran, plus neighbors like Mexico calling it a violation of sovereignty. On the flip side, a key ally like Argentina is celebrating it as a win for freedom. And then you have countries like the UK trying to walk a fine line, just urging respect for the law. And for our last section, let's turn to Venezuela itself, where this operation has created 2 completely opposite realities depending on who you listen to. This right here, this is the information war in a nutshell. The U.S. president is claiming the Venezuelan vice president is cooperating with the transition. Meanwhile, that same vice president is on state TV calling the whole thing a kidnapping meant to steal the country's resources. You can't have 2 more different stories. So the key thing to take away from Caracas is that what's left of the government is putting on a unified show of defiance. The vice president is flanked by military leaders. She's declared a state of emergency, and she's publicly denying any talks or cooperation. They are digging in their heels. But then you go thousands of miles away to a place like Doral, Florida, with its huge Venezuelan diaspora, and the reaction could not be more different. For so many people there who fled the regime, this is the moment they felt they've been waiting for decades. They're talking about freedom, but there's also an undercurrent of caution. They're calling it cautious optimism. It's celebration, but with a real question mark about what comes next. Conclusion. So after peeling back all of these layers, the legal justification, the economic interests, the geopolitical signaling, we're left with the tangle of multiple conflicting motivations for a single military action. And this is the critical takeaway. We've been presented with three distinct reasons for what happened. The real challenge is to figure out the hierarchy here. When a noble goal like justice happens to align perfectly with huge economic and geopolitical interests, you have to ask the question, which one is the real reason and which one is just the convenient justification? The answer to that is going to define everything that happens from here on out.